So it's that time of year again, right? The time where we all swear this is the year we finally get our finances in order. But what if you had an actual blueprint to follow? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into one specific strategy from our source material that's designed for the, let's say, unique economic times we're living in. I love this quote our source kicks things off with. It's from a dentist, of all people. It really frames the whole idea of discipline perfectly, doesn't it? Some things, well, they aren't just a good idea. They're absolutely essential if you care about the long-term result.
And that's exactly the point. We're not just talking about good habits here. We're talking about the absolute bedrock disciplines for your long-term financial health. I mean, you wouldn't just ignore your teeth and expect everything to be fine, would you? So why do so many of us do exactly that with our retirement plans?
So let's talk about how common this goal actually is. Turns out, getting your money sorted out is a massive priority for a huge number of people.
And yeah, check this out. Our source points out that getting your finances in order is right up there with the big ones, like exercising more and eating healthier. It's a core goal for millions. But here's the kicker. Wanting it is the easy part. Actually doing it, that's where it all tends to fall apart.
I mean, this slide just lays it all out, plain and simple. The source makes it clear most people are saving less than 5% of their income. But to actually be financially independent, the experts say you need to be socking away at least 20%. That's not a gap, my friends. That's a canyon between where most of us are and where we really need to be. Okay, so how in the world do you bridge a gap that big? Well, a lot of it depends on the economic environment we're playing in, and the outlook for the coming year, according to our source, is a real mix of some amazing news and some pretty serious warnings.
So, on the bright side, the economy has been showing some incredible strength. Our source highlights a whopping 4.3% annualized GDP growth in the third quarter. That's just a fancy way of saying the economic engine is really humming along. And that energy, of course, is spilling over into the stock market. Get this. Some analysts that the source cites are predicting the S&P 500 could rocket up to 8,000 points. For anybody who's invested, that would be a massive gain of almost 17%. And maybe the best news of all, inflation. The source notes that it was brought down to 2.7% last year, which is a huge relief for everybody's wallets. And the forecasts are even predicting more rate cuts are on the way. So yeah, on the surface, everything's looking pretty rosy.
Okay, so with all this good news flying around, you gotta ask, right? What's the catch? Is it all smooth sailing from here, or are there some potential storms on the horizon we should probably know about? And our source is really clear on this point. Do not get complacent, because despite all that good news, there are some serious storm clouds gathering. You've got totally unpredictable world events, the bill for all that past stimulus is coming due, we've got a massive national debt, and let's be real, the market can't go up forever. And this is where we get to my favorite analogy from the source material. It kind of frames this whole discussion around risk. When the big bad wolf of a market crash comes knocking, is your financial house built of straw, sticks, or is it solid brick? So given that we're dealing with both huge opportunities and some pretty scary risks, our source puts forward a very specific strategy that they call a laser fund, and it's designed to be that house of bricks. So let's get down to it. What is this thing? Well, first we need to understand the engine it's built on. It's called an Indexed Universal Life Policy, or an IUL. Now stay with me here. At its core, it's a type of life insurance, but with this really cool twist. Your cash value grows based on a market index, like the S&P 500. So you get to ride the market's ups, but you're protected from the downs. Now, this is maybe the most important part to get. A laser fund, as our source defines it, isn't a product you can just go buy off the shelf. It is a strategy for setting up an IUL policy. The entire goal is to max fund it, pour as much money as you can into that cash growth part, while shrinking the actual insurance costs down to the lowest level the IRS will let you. And the name itself, LASER, is actually an acronym that spells out exactly what it's supposed to do. Liquid assets safely earning returns. And that word, safely, well, that's the whole ballgame right there. This is what they mean by the house of bricks. The core principle is that zero is the hero. What does that mean? It means if the market tanks, like it did back in 2008, you get a 0% return for that year. You don't gain anything, but more importantly, you don't lose a single dime. All your previous gains, they're locked in, safe and sound. All right, so theory is one thing, but what does this actually look like for real people? The source gives us two case studies to kind of show how this strategy could play out.
So first up, we've got a 56-year-old who puts in $100,000 a year for 5 years. 10 years in, their cash value is projected to be around $700,000. From that point on, they can start pulling out about $54,000 a year, tax-free for the rest of their life. Pretty amazing. But check out this next one. This is where you see the absolute magic of starting early. We have a 25-year-old who puts in a much smaller $6,000 a year. By the time they're 70, they've contributed $270,000 total. But their cash value is projected to be over $1.3 million. That can then generate over $100,000 a year in tax-free income. That is the power of compound growth right there. And that leads us right to what the source says is, without a doubt, the most crucial part of this whole conversation. Because those results we just saw, they are not automatic. Not at all. They depend entirely on how that policy is put together from day one. And you're not going to believe this next number from the source. It's just staggering. An estimated 95%. That's the percentage of IULs out there that are, according to the source, set up all wrong to work like this. The vast majority are just not optimized.
So what's the difference? Well, think of it like this. An improperly structured policy has way too much life insurance built into it, which means it's loaded with high costs and high fees. It's like trying to run a race with a parachute strapped to your back. The laser fund strategy is designed to do the exact opposite. Cut that parachute off and let your cash grow as fast as it possibly can. And so that really brings us back to the question that started this whole thing. As you look out at the years ahead with all the economic uncertainties and all the opportunities, you have to ask yourself, how is your financial strategy built? Is it designed to grow, but also protect you from those storms that will inevitably come? In other words, is your house built of straw, sticks, or bricks?